Welcome back to the Exalted podcast, where we tell stories of hope, health, and healing. And I'm so excited to have Ursula Mentjes with me here today. Ursula is a big time person that I just look up to in the business world. She's one of my personal coaches, and I know she's coached some of you, some of my listeners. She's a 5-time best-selling author, award-winning entrepreneur, and she specializes in that area of quantum revenue goals. And I'm really excited to have you here today, Ursula. So thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was the sweetest introduction I think I've ever had. I appreciate it, Jen. I'm delighted to be here. And I feel called to be here today because I've been in conversations lately, it feels like, with God a lot about who am I supposed to be serving?
Yeah.
Who can I bring hope to? Because I feel like we're still in a time where people have lost hope and maybe have lost their way, have lost their dreams, have lost their goals. And so I'm just super excited to be here with you and to share some of that light and love with people today.
I 100% agree with that. People got so stuck in fear during the last couple of years, right? So many people gave up on their businesses, closed doors for forever, and just have decided that they needed to go back to something that doesn't serve them just because they feel like they need the income. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes. To kind of to do things. I mean, there's a time and a place. Like, I totally get if you have, if you have a family, right? You have to put food on the table. You got to do the things. But if it means that you give up the other dream, then something's off. And, I don't think we're being asked to give up our dreams. I feel like we're being asked to step into our dreams in an even bigger way.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I just keep seeing it as like so many people have shrunk back, but it's time that we just step back into it and like step out. Would you agree with that?
Yes, for sure. And absolutely. Was that really loud? Yes, because for a couple of reasons. One, the world needs us to lead right now. The world needs us as CEOs, as business owners, business leaders, to step up and to bring hope to other people, because we know what's possible. We know that when we stay on our path and we stay in our dream, and we stay in our goals, we know that we can create and receive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking with another client about, I know, this is a very God-centered podcast. You talk about the Bible, and ask and you shall receive, right? It is in the Bible. And what does that mean? Because we forget that we can pray and ask for our heart's desires, right? And the word desire means of God. It's from the sire. And so I feel all the time when I feel very blessed that our clients share their desires with us, because those are from God. Those are gifts, and they're in your heart. And when we don't live into them or believe that it's possible, like, I feel like a part of us just starts to shrink, like you said, shrink away. I don't want to say die. I don't want to put that out there, but like we start to shrink. Right. And that's not how we're meant to live. So we have to be those beacons of light, even when it's hard. Believe me, I have bad days. We're going to talk about the pandemic. I have had many like challenging times in my life. Yeah. And I know, though, that I also know what's possible, and I know that I can pull myself out of that. And I know there's people who are listening who maybe haven't had that experience yet. So we'll talk about that today and how to do it.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect segue, because I know you went through a big shift in 2020, because a lot of your revenue prior to 2020 was from live events. Is that correct?
All of it, Jen. Let's just say all of it.
So the world shuts down, and Ursula is just like, I got to shut the doors or I'm going to step into it. So tell me about that.
I still remember where I was on March 14th. It's going to be one of those things, right, that sticks in our minds. I was, with some friends, and we were talking about, we kept saying it's not going to happen. I remember just being in denial. They're not going to shut it down. They're not going to shut everything down. Like, we're going to be fine. It's going to or if they do, it's going to be 2 weeks. Right. And then I suddenly realized about a month into the pandemic that wasn't the case. And we'd already canceled. We had sales camp classes that were happening in California and some that were scheduled in Minnesota, our live events. And we just kept canceling and kept canceling. I was having a conversation with one of my friends and clients from St. Olaf, and she's in the events industry. And she just said, Ursula, like, so she had been talking to people at Amazon and Google and like big clients. She was just really well connected with the bigger corporations who are the bell ringers, right? They're the bell ringers.
Yeah.
And they started to say this. They started to say, we're not going to have any live events until 2021, maybe 2022. And that was the moment I just knew. I knew I needed to listen. I knew I needed to tune in. So let me give you the real story, what happened.
Yeah.
I totally fell apart. I mean, I was devastated. This was my business. We had clients to serve. Can you imagine? We had all these, clients who'd paid. They were expecting to show up at live events in California. We had hotels booked. We had training support booked. We had staff booked. We had all the things. And I thought, if we cancel these, we're going to lose all the revenue. So I pretty much had a huge pity party for myself. It was a good week, I would say, and just felt sorry for myself. And I just let myself kind of grieve a little bit too, because I was grieving. We were, right? We were grieving what we were losing. Yeah. Homeschool for us, which I know you're in a different world of schooling than me, but homeschool had not been a thing. And suddenly our child was also home, who at that time it was like putting a 6-year-old on a device and expecting him to go to school, just not natural.
Right. In
my husband's office. So there was lots of turmoil in the home, right? We were all stressed out. We didn't know what was happening in the world. And so the pity party was for a week. And then I was having a conversation with my husband and I just said, look, the PPP money was maybe going to come out, but it wasn't going to be soon enough. And I said, I definitely have money saved and we have things that can fall back on, but maybe this is it, Tim. Maybe it's time to just shut it down and let it go. And you know what my husband did? Let me just tell you, I will say God speaks through people. I believe that.
Absolutely.
My husband laughed in my face. He laughed so hard at me. He's like, okay. Now, let me share this. My husband is a tech person. He lives in the world of technology. And I am not very technical. In the beginning, it was hard for me to get on Zoom. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many buttons. Can you see me now? Can you hear me right now? So my husband said, there is this thing called technology. You could put your classes online. And I was like, oh, I don't like change. So the thought of moving that all over, and then the thought of, I felt like I was going to disappoint my clients. Sure. You don't get to see us live anymore. It's not, this, it felt like it was a real step down to do this online class. But then I realized, well, I don't really have a choice. So then Rebecca, master coach at Sales Coach Now, we sat down and just had a chat. And she's like, she was with another company. She coached for other companies. So she's an independent with other companies, an expert coach. And she said, other companies are shutting down. This is kind of a scary time. We knew multi-million-dollar companies in the training space that were
this is real. This is not.
This is real.
This isn't hitting the brakes. This is real. Yeah.
This is real. And she's like, and given, the space you live in, which is about beliefs and shifting beliefs and living in possibility and all of those things that I believe, right? She said, I bet we could take it online. And so I just went into shift mode. And once I made the decision, because that's the big thing, right? If you're down in the dumps, you can either, this is a choice. I could have stayed in my sad pity party and watched all the clients and all the things just float away.
Right.
But I decided, you know what? I was kind of made for this. This is my opportunity. We survived the recession in California where you can read about it. We lost everything and made our way back, right?
Yeah.
We can do that again. In fact, I don't have to live like this is a recession. In fact, what if, and I started to ask different questions, and this is really important, Jen, because so often we ask the negative questions, what if this all falls apart?
Right.
What if this all ends? What if this is it, right? Well, I started to ask different questions. I thought, well, what if we did rebuild the company? What if we rebuilt it online? What if we could have clients all over the world? What if maybe it is time for Sales Coach Now to die or be released, and it's time for what has been in the back of my head to be born? And that was part of it too. There was something else that had been trying to come through for a long time. And it's we helped our clients sell. They all knew how to sell. Our clients weren't asking for more sales training. They were asking how to scale their businesses. Yeah. And so I thought, what if, this is the question I asked, what if this is the opportunity that we've been waiting for?
So good.
And guess what? It turned out it was. We rebuilt what is a 7-figure company in about just a little over a year.
Yeah, I love that.
So the revenue growth and how fast we were able to do it because we made the decision, what am I going to choose? we chose this, and the right people showed up. Of course, I'm not saying it was easy. I'm not saying I didn't invest a lot in rebuilding our programs, our packages, our marketing, like everything had to change, but it kind of had been asking to change for a while. So sometimes when we feel like things are falling away, or there's a big block in front of us, like the pandemic, we all needed to make changes, right? We all did.
And there's two things I love about that. Like the first one is like, number one, you're human. Even with 7-figure businesses, you have bad days and points where you just need to like stop and surrender and get in it, which I think is so relatable to anybody on any step of this journey. The second thing that I love is like your husband and Rebecca, like it's so important to have people surround you that are going to speak into you instead of encourage you to just, oh, it probably is time to give up. Right. Like how powerful is that? Like, what if you had a husband that never really understood entrepreneurship and was kind of on the border anyway. And all of a sudden he's like, yeah, maybe it is time. Maybe you should just go get a job. Like, can you imagine?
Well, no, I can't. And luckily that's not who I'm married, right? Like luckily, but I am grateful. I think about that a lot. Like Tim is definitely a bigger risk taker than me. And I'm a risk taker being an entrepreneur, but that's been critical because whenever I've gone to him, because he's definitely, an advisor in my business. He does run all the IT in my business. He's my IT director and he does many other things, but I go to him with a lot of, he can bring me a lot of clarity really quickly because he knows the journey, but he always up levels my thinking.
I love it.
Because I'll be like, what do you think about this? And he'll be like, no, what about like, here's the neck. Like you should be thinking about like, what do you think about that old little thing? Like be thinking about this over here. And Rebecca the same. And many people have said that. I'm trying to think. Jim Rohn, right? Jim Rohn back in the day said, you become the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Yes.
There's truth to that. Sometimes we got to look around and we got to prune, especially in a loving way. Like sometimes it just means we're not hanging out with people as much, right? But you can't have people in your ear who aren't speaking about possibilities or aren't speaking about goal setting. You can't, because if you do, it's really hard to keep going.
And sometimes those people are your family, right? And so it happens. And so sometimes I think you just have
they're your family.
Yeah, you just like, you don't have to cut them out of your life. That's not what we're saying, but not going to them with your vulnerable stuff, I think that's really important. And then having people in your circle that will have those conversations with you when you are in those vulnerable places, right?
And I just want to qualify, like I laughed out loud in case any of my family members are listening. There's really only one family member who's been really discouraging in my life, and that's okay. God bless that person. It's okay. They're on their own journey. The rest of my family, I would say, super supportive, even if they don't always understand what I'm up to. They're just like, good for you, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I totally get it. And yeah, we're not meaning to insult anybody. I'm thinking of the listener that's out there that's like, well, my husband is that person, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's your mom or your brother, and just find the people that are going to speak into it and speak from that place of faith and possibility versus, encouraging you to shrink back.
And another thing, Jen, I wanted to add about that. So often it's just not, there's just certain people you don't share your next goal with, right? Yes. Certain people that you keep it, like there's a very small percentage of people. Well, I share everything with my clients. So if like on the CEO table, I share all the things. So if you're in my community, you're going to hear about it before anyone else, because you guys live in that possibility mindset. Yes. There's others, like there's a handful of others who I will really share with. And so just protect, like sometimes you hold on to the dream and goal until it happens, and then you share afterwards, because you don't have to invite that in by feeling like you have to tell people.
Right. Because people will always speak to the place where they're at. And so they'll oftentimes cut goals down because they don't see that possibility, but it's not their journey. So that's okay.
Right. Oh, it's so good. That's so good. You're right. Like they'll speak from where they're at. And that's why, right, we need to find people who are ahead of us on the business journey, who can pull us to the next level, who see the blind spots and the possibilities that are there. I mean, I really can't survive without having a coach or 12 right now. Like I love being able to go to people and just tell them all the things and have them help me talk it through. But I'm very careful about who those coaches and consultants are. Like they have to be ahead of me on the journey.
Well, that's so good too, because then their ceiling is going to be your ground floor, right?
Right.
Like if you have coaches, like Ursula is one of my coaches. So if she has a coach that is, has a $1 billion company, and then she's got a 7-figure company, and that's where we're going. Like, I always want somebody that's in front of me, and then you get to learn everything that they've learned. And it always just ends up paying it forward. So I love it.
Right. Right. Well, you're a coach as well. So people are like the statistics don't lie. I love numbers, right? You're 95% more likely to reach a goal, whether it's health or business, by having a coach. 95%. And that's from the International Coaches Federation. That's huge. Like, they've done the studies. That's how big of a difference it makes to have someone helping you to that next level.
I love it. So good. Okay. So let's go back to the story, to the part where it's this place of possibility and probably a huge step in faith, right? Because you're closing doors on one business, but only to step into something greater. So talk about that process.
Yeah. I feel like that is like, being in business is a faith journey. I mean, I think being on the planet is a faith journey, but having a business, you have to have so much faith.
You do.
That what you're up to is making a difference in the world in whatever shape or form. And I don't know how many times a day I say that to myself, that, I have faith this is going to work out. I have to say it to myself, right? Like, I'm saying it to myself. I'm also probably praying about it in the same way, but it's like, I have faith. Like, I have to have faith in this journey. And that means you have faith in your team. That means you have faith in the coaches and the consultants you work with. That means you have, when it makes sense, right? But you have faith in all the people around you. But it also, when you say that, right, what does it mean? It means I believe that what I'm called to, or my purpose, or what I'm bringing in, I have faith that I'm on the right path, that the next step is going to show up. And that often it's not seen. Like, often the biggest faith journey is when you see zero evidence, right, that it's going to happen, and you still believe. Right. And that's the most challenging. But like, you got to keep coming back to it. Like, I have faith. I believe it's already done. I mean, really, that is what, when you pray, right? Amen means it is done. Thy will be done.
Yep.
And like,
it does.
Because I think sometimes we can pray without belief, which that's a little different, right? That's a different. So notice, when you pray, you come from that place of, I'm asking, and I believe this is going to happen.
That's especially such a good point.
Right?
Such a good point. There's a difference between like praying from a place of victimhood, like begging.
Yes.
And praying from a place of like, I believe that heaven is behind me on this, and I'm going to tap into all those resources. That is such a fabulous point. And I think that someplace that, and there are going to be times when you're over here on your knees, like I shared with you guys that my dad just passed away. And there are times where I'm praying from like, I need you, Lord, like I need you to fill this space. But there's also times where it's like, no, I know that this is my assignment from you, Lord. And I know you're going to provide. So go before me. It's such a different energy, a different energy.
Yes.
So good.
Well, and to be in that conversation, like, I mean, before I step out on the stage, whether it's virtual or on a live stage, it's, really praying about what needs to come through. And we did that today. You led that. And I think that's so important, whether it's a sales conversation, because sometimes we can get all stuck up in our stuff about, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Well, instead, say a prayer about it. Like, I always ask that I be led. Like, if I'm supposed to serve this person, show me that I'm supposed to serve them. And if I'm not, close the door and let me refer them to somebody else. And that's awesome too. Like, I'm just coming from that place of non-attachment, but service gets you out of the way and just brings ease and grace. I know we weren't like talking about sales, but I just wanted to kind of bring that in, whether you're speaking on stage, or speaking on a podcast, or in a sales conversation, speaking for discernment of the right words to come through and who I'm supposed to serve. And I even have that written down on the back of my to-do list. It's, that I call in, like, I'm really conscious of calling in those who want to receive, and those that I can really be in service to, of the highest level, that we're in alignment with values, right? Because that makes business so much easier, because when you're calling in our world, right, as coaches, if we're calling in people who don't want to be coached, right, who don't really want to change, that makes our jobs really difficult.
It does.
So like, for everyone who's listening, like, if you have a business, you can call in those you're meant to serve. And that is a powerful ask.
I think you can apply that to just about any area of your faith, right? Like, so many of us have different assignments within our faith. And one of our biggest like assignments as Christians is to share our faith. And so I think you can just apply that to like any gamut, but I love that we apply it to businesses too, because a lot of Christians aren't doing that and aren't letting the Lord lead their business, right?
Yeah. I don't really know another way because I'm not that smart. So,
Same.
it's like I need all the guidance I can get. And it's a lot easier. I don't believe in working super hard. Like I believe in, asking to be led and watching, being in the awareness of who and what is showing up in my world.
So good. It's so good. I feel like we could have this conversation for forever, but I really feel like this is kind of the culmination. Like, what one other thing would you share with somebody that your message is just like resonating with today, and they're in this place of being stuck, or they kind of haven't gotten their groove back after the pandemic? Maybe they wanted to make some shifts, but have stayed stuck. What do you have for them?
Yeah, I just did a kind of a vlog post about this. And I mean, it's pretty simple. Don't give up on your dreams. Like if those desires, which I really believe desires of the sire of God, they're downloads, they're divine downloads. Like only you have this special assignment. And you are actually doing a disservice to the world, to your family, to your clients, or to whoever you're supposed to serve. You're doing a disservice if you say no to your dreams, if you say no to your desires. And it truly has a negative, I believe this, Jen, that it has a negative effect on our bodies too, like physically. When people are, this is what you run in, like this is how you help people, right? Like blocked, like we get blocked, we could get sick, cancel. We don't want that, but stuff happens. And I believe a lot of it is because we're not living into desire. Now that could be because we've had childhood trauma, right? We've talked a little bit about that. We've had things, which I totally get. And so you want to be part of groups like Jen's, if that's what you want to work on, to release those things that, and those people who've hurt you, to clear that out so you can make room for what you really want. So there's the work, there's work to be done. So you can use discernment there. Who am I calling in? Like, I want to call someone in to help me heal. Well, what could that look like? Who can help you with that? And then clearing that out gives you more space to really live your purpose and what's calling to you. And everyone has it. And some of you are saying, I don't even remember anymore. I guarantee if you do some work and some clearing around that, you'll hear it again. You'll hear that gentle, really, I like to think of it like I hear a drum beat, like it's a drum beat that's calling me, and it keeps me going because I know there's more people for me to serve.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like a pulling. Mine feels like a pull. Like when I know that something is right, like I know the Holy Spirit is just pulling me towards it. So that's so good. I love that we both hear it in different ways, because everybody, like God has his own unique language with each and every one of us. That's so good. So if somebody is in that space, what is the first question that you would ask them? Like if they were your client and they're feeling really stuck and they know that there's something more, if they were sitting in front of you, what's one question that you would ask them?
Yeah. I would start with what they don't want, because often that's what we know. So I would say, Jen, like, what are you tired of tolerating in your life, in your business right now?
So good.
And if someone's stuck, they'll be able to give me a whole list of things they're tired of, right? We can all do that, right? And this was something that another coach shared with me a long time ago, is that often we don't think we know what we want, but we're really clear on what we don't want, right? So we might say, so if I ask someone that, they might say, well, I'm tired of not having enough money. I'm tired of not working with the right clients. I don't feel supported at home or at work, right? There's this whole whatever. Yes. Well, then, so for anyone who's listening, you can do this. Like, what are the things you're tolerating? And then the flip side of all those things is what you do want. Well, if you don't want to not have any money, how much money do you want? And I also get sometimes in faith-based communities, we can get a little weird and uptight about money, and we don't want to talk about it. Yeah. But here's the thing. You can't do great work in the world if you're poor.
Amen.
Mother Teresa had millions of dollars. She flew on private jets. She didn't talk about it, but there was plenty of money that she had to do the work that she wanted to do in the world. And you can look at research that, right? So money makes us more of who we are. So if you're already a good person doing great works in the world, you should have more money. You should have so much money you don't even know what to do with it. You could give money away. You could start your own foundation. You can live a great life. You can take care of your kids so that they can become productive citizens. Like, it goes on. So I wanted to say that about, like,
so good
money. And so again, what do you not want? And what's the opposite of that? So that was, I don't have enough money. Well, how much do you want? But be really clear, right? Be really clear what you're asking for. and how much it is. Like a lot of times then we're afraid. We're like, well, I shouldn't ask for too much. Well, who made up too much? What does that even mean? That's based on your childhood and all the beliefs you have, right? So if you, but right? You kind of, you're like, well, I want a 7-figure business. Okay, then say it out loud. Tell somebody.
Yeah.
Because what would you do with all that money? I bet you would do amazing things with all that money.
Amen.
Amazing things, right? So it's like, if you don't feel supported anymore, what kind of support do you want? Well, I want to hire someone. Maybe I need to let someone go. That's hard. Maybe they're no longer a fit, but I want some super support at work. I want support at home. What would that look like? I want someone to clean my house. Good. Find someone that's blessing someone else's business, right?
Yes.
What was the other one? So I'm not being supported. I don't have enough money. I don't know. Anyway, you get the gist
so
of
good.
it.
It's so good. And then when you clear away all the stuff that you don't want, all the energy that you're spending over there, you have so much energy to create what you do want.
Yes, exactly. Create space.
Good. So good. Ursula, thank you so much for being here. I really feel like we could just keep pulling on that thread and talk for like hours, but we'd probably lose people just because we'd get so excited about it.
Well, this is such a pleasure, Jen. Thanks for having me. I mean, these are things I love to talk about. And especially, like I said at the beginning, like this is a time when we want to bring more hope and light and love to the world. So for anyone who's listening, like if there's anything I can do for you, I know Jen's got an open door. You can reach us at, it's easy, contact@ursulainc.co. And if there's a way we can support you, or you need a resource, or you need something, reach out to the team and we'll get back to you.
And you have your own podcast too. Remind me what the name of that one is.
It's Quantum Revenue Expansion. So it's really for business owners who want to 2x or 10x their revenue and are maybe feeling a little bit stuck. So we have clients come on and share their success stories. Jen's going to be on there soon. We're going to have you on. I bring in some experts that I really trust who've helped me in my business. And it's just a feel-good show with people doing great things. You know, we have shows back from the pandemic where people were quadrupling their businesses when everyone else was freaking out. They were killing it. So like just things to stay motivated and stay inspired.
Lots of hope in that arena if that's what you are looking for. So thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for just pouring into people all around you. I just appreciate you so much. So thanks for being here.
My pleasure. I'd love to come back anytime. Many blessings to everybody. Many blessings to Jen and you, your family, and all the work you're doing in the world.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next time.